start with the basic time-space coordinates. We're having this conversation. Los Angeles, Southern California, the banks of the Pacific Ocean, in the last 12 years of the 20th century. Now, this is exactly the right place and the right time to be alive, because L.A., without any question, is the information center of the world. Within 20 minutes drive of where we're sitting now, there are probably 8 top movie studios, offices of most of the big television and music conglomerates. And within 20 miles from here, you have the smartest people in the world in the information field. Writers, technicians, designers, and fashion directors. I say musicians, composers, computer stars. I have fun thinking that in the evolution of human intelligence, there have been certain places that were burned bright hot, and anybody who was interested in human evolution and development and ideas understood or tuned into or possibly got to that point. Certainly Athens at the time of the golden age there. Obviously Egypt during that period when tremendous affluence and aesthetic skill. Undoubtedly the 6th century BC, along the Ganges, great things were happening, the beginnings of powerful philosophies that are going to change the world. Sometimes I think of this area, maybe bound out in the north by the Valley Mountains, and then bound down the south by the Santa Monica Freeway, and maybe east of La Brea heading to the Golden Rectangle, or the Genetic Runway, because this is the place where the future's taking off from. Because the future is all about information, communication. And just as oil is transmitted through pipelines and tankers, and metal is trucked in boxcars, the medium of exchange in the information for the future is entertainment. What does entertainment mean? You're creating signals and generating, packaging ideas that people want, measured by the Hooper ratings or by the box office or by word of mouth. So that's why I'm here. And I think we should celebrate ourselves. Naturally, the rest of the world is ambivalent about us. On the one hand, they envy us because here come the smartest, the best looking, the most stylish. Well, style in the sense of the old classic stuff, yeah, you still get it in Paris and Rome. Futique style. So let's honor ourselves. Everyone says that Southern California is where you get the Fruit Loops and the nuts, and that's true. There are a greater number of successful individuals here, and survival eccentrics. And I toast and cheer for me and for all of us that are involved in this enterprise. The interesting thing about what we're in, because creativity and philosophic innovation is so singular, so individual, each one of us in this amazing colony we have here is a free agent. We're the people that will not work. We're the people that couldn't adjust to that thing. And that's a scary thing to the rest of the world. The rest of the world is scared because they don't know how to make that next month's payment. Since they fired me from Harvard, I've always had to figure out where the next exchange of energy is going to come from, because there's no big brother, there's no big corporation. So again, I think we should honor ourselves for our courage and our basic belief in ourselves, because to be a free agent, to be reckless enough to think that you can make it without lining up the paymaster is an act of courage. And we should slap each other on the back and give each other a high five, because the rest of them ain't going to do it. They're threatened by what we do, and they're going to badmouth us, and they're going to envy us. But if we don't admire each other, then who will? And again, people in our profession, we have no need to really build ourselves up. We don't have to prove ourselves what we're doing, the way organized religions have to do it, or the way the Democratic Party has to do it. But we know we don't have to run around and justify it, because our work, our very lives, are justification. I had an interesting experience, by the way. My wife Barbara and I went with Chris Blackwell Friday night to the Wiltern Theater to see Tom Waits. Now, I've known Tom. He's been around town, and I've seen him kind of pretending to be drunk, pretending to be spaced out with that cigarette dangling out of his mouth, and kind of screaming weird things at the eye. But I was totally unprepared. Barbara and I and many people that we've talked to agree that the Tom Waits performance was the best theatrical event we'd ever been to in our lives. And that's saying a lot, because we're all show business people. The music, the style, the many different modes that he would move into. But equal and even perhaps more encouraging the fact that Tom Waite, who's the real spirit of L.A., down there in Santa Monica, Troubadour, he's been thrown out of every bar down the strip. Even greater than with the audience. I would submit that that audience, numbering perhaps 3,000 people, was the most sophisticated intelligence audience in the world. I couldn't believe looking at these people walking around. And they don't fall into any categories. You're not getting Polo Lounge, Beverly Hills people, or even movie people. As a matter of fact, there weren't many of them there. It was I don't call it a level, but just a world that exists here. People that you almost never get their names in the gossip columns, but are the soul and the brain of this L.A. adventure, dressed in many, many different ways. And again, there wasn't anyone outrageously punk. You know, it's hard to describe. I looked around and I thought, well, these 3,000 people, not one of them could get nominated to the Supreme Court, obviously. And many other people remarked to me, too, that they enjoy the audience as much as Waite, because it's a wonderful intersection of a great mind like Waite's, exactly the right time. It took him 15 years of just rolling around in the gutters, figuratively speaking, to get his voice that whiskey nicotine, and to get his lines down, and to be able to move with those precise ballet postures. It's like a veteran football quarterback. And the audience, too. The audience had to be there. It was one of those extraordinary moments which could only happen, I think, in L.A. There were times, perhaps, when Mozart was playing in Vienna, I don't know, because symphonic music is the glorious voodoo ritual of the industrial age.
Blackstone Audiobooks presents Coops, a new audio novel by Timothy Baer. Before and every place, Dottaville, like everywhere else, woe for the exception. America rules because no one big shopping mall where anyone might be. There was no one place Dottaville off the map. Anyone all say Dottaville. Dottaville.